The DIESOL podcast,
Digital integration in English as a second or other language.
episode 19, updating your ELT resume.
Welcome to the DIESOL podcast, episode number 19. We are your hosts. I am Brent Warner.
And I'm Ixchell Reyes.
Hey, Shell, how's it going?
Hey, Brent.
So
19 episodes.
Yeah, I can't believe it. We did our drinks with DIESOL the other day. That was fun. We're catching up a little bit more regularly than have been in the past. But today, since we are right in the thick of summer, we had an idea that maybe people could benefit looking for a little bit of information on building their resumes, right?
Right.
And getting their CVs, resumes, however you want to call it. There's a lot of things that people can do to improve their resumes, especially when they're searching for jobs in this field. So let's jump right over and get into the meat of things.
All right.
All right. So, Ixchell, really before we get started, we kind of have to address the elephant in the room, which is there's a little bit of dark news coming at us more ahead, which is that, right now with the coronavirus and all the other things, things are not looking great for teachers' perspectives in the future, in the near future.
Right.
A lot of people are losing jobs in California, for sure. Funding is going down and people are really worried about it. Most ESL departments are not doing really well with enrollments. We're starting to see that, maybe people are choosing not to come to America, or, they're not going to enroll in the classes the next semester or whatever it is. Language schools have been closing down. Colleges are reducing their programs. And of course, our good old government is not being the most inviting to people from around the world. And so again, we're trying to, these are the bad things, and we kind of have to look at the positive, right? So basically what's happening is that, there's jobs are shrinking. More and more ESL teachers are going to be flooding the market in fall. And not only ESL, we have to remember this just to kind of keep things open and honest, is that a lot of teachers that are not ESL teachers, when they lose their jobs, they think they can teach ESL also, right? And so you get English teachers who go, oh, well, I've been an English teacher for all my life, and so I can teach ESL. Not necessarily the case, but not necessarily not the case, but not necessarily the case. So we kind of wanted to talk about this a little bit and see, are you seeing this in your over there in Texas as well? I'm definitely seeing it in California.
Well, I know that. Well, I was just reading some articles that there's we know that the teacher burnout rate is 3 to 5 years, which is pretty scary. Yeah. And now they're saying, the news article is saying, and I don't recall which news article it was, but they're expecting that a lot of teachers aren't going to be coming back because it's so difficult. This transition has been so difficult. It's burning people out faster. So it could also be that they're going to be switching over to a different area of teaching, and it could very well be ESL.
Right, and there's a lot of work more and get paid less, right? Like learn how to do all these new things that you've never done before. And by the way, we're reducing your pay on top of everything. So hopefully that's not the case for everyone, and we want the best for everyone too. But we do have to take a realistic look at what's going to be approaching us in the very near future. So we wanted to talk about this, and we know people are going to be out there looking for jobs, right?
Yeah. So with that in mind, we want to make sure that we are giving our audience tools that can help them to best represent themselves, because we know that your resume and your portfolio are your first impression, and you want to make sure that you stand out when you're going out there to take any kind of teaching job. Besides, we know that having your resume ready at any given moment is important. You just never know when you're going to need it, right? It could be definitely right now, it could be a job, but it could be maybe an award submission. It could be consideration for something. And how are you going to stand out against other candidates? There's going to be plenty of competition out there. How are you going to end up on the yes list versus the maybe or the no list? And I want to mention here that both of us have been on interviewing panels, right, Brent? So we've had experience with the process,
right?
And we know what it's like when you're looking at a couple of candidates and there's just one that's not going to get through, and that's going to be definitely not going to get through. And so we don't want anyone anybody who's really good to fall into the maybe pile. You want to go into the yes pile for an interview.
Yeah.
And then go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to say, kind of follow up on the point about having your resume ready. Is like, so many times I talk to teachers and they're like, oh, this position opened, but it closes in 2 days. I got to go get everything right. It's like, whoa. Like there's a lot of stuff to collect. So you do need to really have it ready. And like, every 6 months, every year, just go back and just update it with whatever else is going on so that it's ready to submit whenever you see something.
I think that's a very, very, very valid point. Just like when we're organizing certain things in our lives, we want to keep that resume or CV or whatever it is, your digital portfolio, updated, and you want to approach it with a strategy that, as every few months you've completed maybe some extra training, you've written something, you've participated in a workshop. You want to start adding those as you go along. That's just got to be a habit, because inevitably I hear a lot of my colleagues that, when we have our annual review at the end of the year, they'll say, well, I know that I did a lot of things, but I just can't think of them right now. And then the annual review, the written portion of it, the self-evaluation or self-reflection, is due at the end of the week, when everything else is due. And so you end up not reporting and not quantifying the work that you've actually done. And the chances are you've done a lot of great work. So you want to make sure that you are keeping that updated.
Okay, so we did find one really interesting quote. I thought it was fascinating, from the International Leadership Journal by Levitt, Linder, and He. It was actually a quote from someone else, Chen, Huang, and Li. Basically, they pulled this out and said, they found that employers make inferences about job-related knowledge, interpersonal skill, general mental ability, and conscientiousness of the applicant after viewing a resume. So really,
yikes.
Can I repeat that one more time, Ixchell? Because that is such a big deal, right? So it said, they found that employers make inferences about job-related knowledge, interpersonal skills, general mental ability, and conscientiousness of the applicant after viewing a resume. So thinking about all those things, that's before you even get a chance to talk to someone, right? That's just like what your resume itself presents. And this also should go out to your portfolio. So we want to talk today really about your digital portfolio. Like, what does your presence look like online? And there's more than just the piece of paper that you're going to be sending in, right?
Right.
Especially if you're trying to consider yourself as a really competitive applicant, right? So a low level, and again, sorry to use this phrasing, you guys, but a low level competitive applicant would probably be something like, here is my resume, and that's all you're going to see about me, right? As compared to someone else who might be a high-level candidate that says, yes, here is my resume, and here is how it integrates into what I've got online that you can go check out, the things that I've been doing, all of these other things, which is a lot of what we want to talk about today. So, Ixchell, what do you think about this idea of kind of a low-level versus a high-level candidate?
That's a great question. I think that, again, you and I have been on several interview panels where we had to sift through the pile of paper, the paper documents that are sent to us. And we know that there's so many teachers who, in the rush to try to get things done or things submitted, they've downloaded the first or second template that they found in a Google search, right? Which means after you've seen 5 or 6, you're going to get a couple other duplicates of that same one. And so now what distinguishes you from those other 2 applicants who could have even maybe better experience? And so I think, a high-level applicant has to be able to show that they can do more than just the basics, right? More than just type up that resume or that CV and submit it, more than just that number 1 or 2 downloaded template.
Okay, so one thing that I hate to talk about this because I really feel like a jerk, kind of in certain ways when I say it, but here's the deal: is that when you are, as an applicant, are applying, right? We had recently, a couple of years ago, I guess, some of the schools nearby us shut down completely, or in big sections, and a lot of teachers unfortunately lost their jobs. And so we had one position open and a couple hundred applicants going for those jobs, and many of the teachers who are good teachers, and I don't get me wrong on that, they're good teachers, but their resume just said, basically, I have been teaching at X school for 15 years. And I said, okay, great. And what else is on there? And it's like nothing else. It's just, I've just been teaching at that school, without like, what extracurriculars are you involved in? What are you doing to grow the program? What are you doing to share your work? Where are your presentations? All of these types of things. And I get that those things can be exhausting for sure. And it's like, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to do those. But like, if you're actually trying to say, hey, I want to compete for the next job, I want to be competitive. In my opinion, being a good teacher is like the baseline entry, right? Like that's where we start looking. That's not where we stop looking, right? And so then the question is, where do you go beyond, or what are you showing beyond those things? And I think you can really build a strong portfolio to help you show all of those things.
Right. So we have an iTunes review. Yay. And this is finally we're getting in a couple more reviews. Brent, you wanna read it?
Yeah. So this one is from Future is Real, and it says, I often feel like listening to teaching podcasts is like eating my vegetables. This one is actually entertaining due in large part to its garrulous hosts. Give it a try and you'll become more informed teacher while actually enjoying yourself. And that is from Future is Real.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think that's got to be Mark, right? I
Mark.
think Mark Makino on Twitter also has the same handle, right? So it must be him. Thank you, Mark.
Our pin winner.
Yeah, we're going to send you a pin, and we are grateful, garrulous hosts. Sure, we'll take it. Yeah. we need a little bit more. Is garrulosity a word in the world? We're going to use it. We're going to make it a word. Okay, so really, we're kind of have given you some of the reasons why you need to have a good presence. You need to have a good resume, but also you need to have this portfolio, right? And there's a lot of different things that you can do to have some sort of presence online. Ixchell, I don't know about you, but when I look at a resume, I really do just take it at its face, like if it says, hey, this is what's going on, then that's what I look at. But when a teacher includes other information, so that they say, hey, this is a link to my website, or this is a link to my Twitter or whatever else it is, I will go and look at that, because they are basically saying, hey, I have expanded my portfolio beyond this. I've expanded my resume to a more, to show more. And so if they are showing me that they have an interest and a willingness to develop and share those things, then I want to go take a look at it. And so the very first thing, as one possibility of a way to build a portfolio, is to make a teaching website that features you and your work. Now, by the way, we should mention that you don't need to do all of the things that we're talking about here.
Yeah.
We're just trying to throw out some ideas on how to build a better presence and how to have something so that when you're competing with other people, it gives you an edge, right? So. Right. So you can build websites pretty easily. Google Sites is a totally free one. Wix, W-I-X, and Weebly. There's a lot of those free website builders out there that are just kind of like click and drag, and you can build your website pretty easily, and they look pretty good. And for me, honestly, I don't really care if it's branded with like, hey, this is a free website from Weebly or something like that. That's not that important to me. If you're sharing and showing your work, that's really what I want to see. Of course, like, you know, a more professionally done WordPress or something like that is wonderful. That's next level. But if we're just saying, hey, I just need to have something, I wanted to be able to show a little bit. My first piece of advice here is consider building yourself a teacher website.
Right. So next is how do you decide what you're going to include there? Of course, you're going to include your experience and all of the customary items, but you also want to showcase some of your work, right? You want, if you've got testimonials from students from evaluations, why not put 1 or 2 quotes on there? If you've got certifications or digital badges, show that on there. If you've got pictures, of course, with permission of student projects that feature the students in an activity, feature that in there. You want to have a variety of work samples, whether it's a lesson plan that you've designed, a syllabus, some slides, a presentation material, or publications. And I think here it's really, really important to, I think, include your students' work. That actually really shows your approach as a teacher. What have they done in your class that shows deep understanding of language building or creativity in education? Do you have student success stories? Share them. You could even showcase some Flipgrid videos if you've been doing those in class. You could use Adobe Spark if you've got blog posts or tweets. Those are things that you can integrate onto your digital portfolio, and actually that adds a lot more personality and informs your potential employer of who you might be as part of that team, as a future part of that team.
Can I add a little bit to that, Ixchell, about the personality?
Yeah.
Like, I really feel like people are scared to show their personality on their resumes and on their portfolios, and it's like, I must be this block, I must be this robot, right?
And when you start reading a lot of passive verbs, and it's like, I don't want to hear the passive verbs. Show it to me. Show me what kind of dynamic instructor you are. Don't tell me you're passionate. Show me that you're passionate. Don't tell me that you're committed. Show me that you're committed.
Right.
How?
It's funny because we talk about these things to our students all the time, right? Like, hey, use these skill sets. And then it's like, well, are these skill sets coming into your presentation of yourself too, right? Speaking of which, presenting, to me, I'm looking a lot of times, I want to see, like, does this person present? What do they present on? Doesn't have to be big, right? It doesn't have to be like, oh, I am a keynote speaker at ISTE or anything like that, right?
Yeah.
You can do small professional development presentations. You can do ones that are just for a couple of teachers, like brown bag sessions, things like that.
Absolutely.
Really just simple things, but you're saying, hey, I am active. I am trying not only to build my students, but I'm also trying to support my teachers, and I'm trying to share some of the things that I'm doing because I find that it works in my classroom, right? So presentations out there, we did talk a little bit about that in the conferences episode, but also, maybe in the future we can talk more and more about, like, really what presenting means and what it looks like, all those types of things. So definitely, and by the way, right now, digital presentations are super easy to do. If you have learned how to use Zoom, which most of us have, you can present online, and it, again, doesn't have to be a super big thing. It can be like, hey, I want to share this with a few people. It's going to be a simple presentation, but I want to make sure people know what's going on. And then you add that into the information that you're sharing for your portfolio, which, by the way, you can also record and then put that presentation directly into your digital portfolio as well.
Right. And we also, as you said, we want to think about how we're presenting ourselves as well. I was mentioning that sometimes you get repeat templates of something, and it's like, oh man, they just downloaded. I can find it very quickly on a Google search, and there it is. You don't want to make a layout mistake and go for bad design. You do want to stand out. Simple is always good, but you want to stand out. Don't just copy and paste directly from your document and then have text overload on that digital portfolio. You've got text to play with. You can bold certain words. You can make bullet lists. What would you look for on a student's paper, right? We tell our students, don't do death by PowerPoint, but then we're just copying and pasting text. We're also doing the same thing, right? We don't want what we're showing about ourselves to be too text heavy or too graphic heavy, right? Nowadays, it's so much easier to make graphics, but we don't want to go overboard. We have to be careful in balancing those because that's representing who we are, and we want to also be taken seriously.
Yeah, so this actually goes back to both your digital portfolio and your resume, right? Because that that resume too, there's a couple of basic Word resume layouts, and I would recommend avoiding those. Go find another one. Maybe it's worth even paying someone on Fiverr to redesign your portfolio, or to redesign your resume or something. Simple, clean, to the point, but readable, and all of those things, they do make a difference. So worth paying attention to for sure. And then the last thing too, when you send in your application for a job, if you're sending in official documents, scan them somehow, please. Get them scanned. I've seen people like take a photo of them on their like kitchen table. I've seen like framed diplomas and like a picture of it through the glass frame at an angle, and like the light is shining off of the diploma, and it's like, is this, like all of these types of things. So even if you don't have a scanner, you can still use an app on your phone, like Adobe Scan or Scannable or Evernote, or they have a lot of these different ones out there that can scan your documents a little better if you don't have a proper scanner. So getting that information in there correct is something that you're going to want to make sure you're paying attention to.
Well, what about social media presence? LinkedIn? Yay or nay?
Yeah. So LinkedIn, I have mixed feel. I like LinkedIn as an idea, and I do have a profile up on LinkedIn, but I don't check it very often, and I never did even when I was searching for jobs. I don't know if that's been something for you.
And I'm an anti-LinkedIn.
Oh, you are? Okay. Why?
I actually am. I just find that for me, it's like a glorified Facebook for jobs.
Okay.
And it might be useful for certain job types. As an instructor, I don't think that that's the platform I would want. It doesn't showcase my creativity, I guess, maybe my personality even. And I don't know, I don't like the idea of people endorsing me there. It just doesn't seem authentic enough for me. So I've stayed away from LinkedIn, no matter how many times my friends have tried to invite me, and someone wants to review you or endorse you.
Yeah.
So I'm a nay on that. But I know that it does work for certain fields. So yeah, and I know that employers do search it. So again, I'm not going to say don't use it, but I just kind of stay away from it.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of with you. I mean, I have it and it's fine. And I definitely have colleagues in education that use it and like it. And think it's a good way to communicate and to like stay professional. And some of them use it like, hey, this is where I am professional socially, and then Facebook is where I can be with my family and friends and those types of things. So I kind of get that distinction too. So I guess maybe we just don't have a lot to say about LinkedIn. Although I personally would recommend having something up there and keeping it up to date. That's my side of things. But yeah, I don't. But maybe that's more along the lines of like, if people are looking for you, or people are looking for someone with a certain set of skills, then they might be able to find you. I have not used it, or I don't know a lot about it in terms of like actively searching for jobs. So we'll have to leave that to someone else to talk about. But we can talk about our favorite, Twitter. So the first question is, are you active, right? Are you active on Twitter? Now, again, you don't have to have a Twitter account, but if you do have a Twitter profile and you're searching for a job, I would say like it's not a great thing to have it with no updates for 4 months or 2 years or whatever it is, right? Either shut down the account or get some regular updates going on there, and not just retweets, but some of your thoughts, right? Some of your ideas. And also, I mean, you can set up some of these systems like buffer.com to automatically tweet for you once a day, where you just like put in a couple of your ideas up front. So again, if you're searching for a job for 2 months and you have to go in once a week for 10 minutes to go put something in there, if you're not an active Twitter person, either don't show that, don't say like, hey, I'm on Twitter, or be a little bit more active.
Right. And I think I want to add that a lot of my the valuable connections I've made have been through Twitter, because people took a look at my profile, and I wasn't actively seeking for anything, but others were. And so then I came up on the search based on what I'd put on my profile. And again, with the Twitter profile, it's really short, but if you've written things down effectively, then you're going to go through those searches. When someone's searching, the filters aren't going to filter you out. And I guess I would also, a word of caution, maybe some people already have a personal Twitter profile, but you want to create one that is your professional Twitter profile, because you don't want to be caught later trying to decide, well, who am I going to add and who am I going to block? And am I going to be private? Because what's the point of having an educational account if it's private? Then you're not really, you want to have that other persona, your professional or personality, whatever it is, your account separate. And that will actually save you a lot of headaches and a lot of gray area questions about whether you want to interact with people or remain anonymous.
Yeah. And then just kind of finally, don't let people guess about what's going on with your account and the reason why things might be happening or not happening. So again, going back to like not updating, there are a lot of legitimate reasons not to be updating, or there are a lot of legitimate reasons to be talking about X, Y, and Z, whatever it is. But kind of in combination with those is that you don't want the person who's choosing whether or not they're going to interview you to say, well, what's the reason for that, right? And so again, positive or negative, we cannot control what people reading think about things, and so we can only control what they do see. And so share, be active, and again, not to mention all the other benefits of being on Twitter too. So last little section on social media, Facebook or Instagram. People have mixed things. Again, you could have the professional account or you could have the personal account. Make sure your settings are set up properly, right? Are they set to share to only you and your family? Are they set to share, are you, you can get really fine, granular with these things. Like this type of post I want to share out to this, and this type of post I want to share out to that. If you're willing to get that into it, great. You can choose who you share your posts to. But a lot of people just either separate accounts. So here's my personal, here's my professional, or just avoid having your personal one be publicly available. Yeah. So we were kind of joking about this. It's like, yeah, you might look good in a bikini. You might look good in a Speedo. I don't know. But like if you're applying for a professional job and then I go and search you and you said, well, again, I don't really search people, but but if you said, hey, here's my Facebook page, or here is my Twitter or my Instagram account, and then there's pictures of partying and those types of things. Same things we tell our students when they're going to be applying for jobs, right? It's not a secret. We just need to apply these things to ourselves.
And a lot of these social media platforms have now made it easier for people to switch between accounts. So it's like just, it's not as difficult as if it was in the past where you had to log in and log out. Now you just have to click a button and switch to your other account. And you just have to be good at managing that, but just be careful.
Yeah. So I think to kind of wrap this up, we hope that you have a job and that you can continue teaching, and that this episode is not necessary for you. But you may have friends and colleagues that are, stressing out right now. The job market is hard, and people just make they do what they've always done, and they aren't aware of the extra steps that they can go through. I'm always surprised when I look at resumes and look at portfolios as how underdeveloped they are, or how how bad the layout or the presentation of this information is. It's
cookie cutter.
Yeah, I mean, really.
And the thing is, people undersell themselves sometimes. And it's like, man, or the opposite, where I'm passionate and enthusiastic, but that's just empty words. A lot of people are going to say that about themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the words lose power.
Right. So again, yes. Fingers crossed, and hope that you are winning. That you're winning. You're keeping your job, and that everything is going to be smooth. But again, if you've got a summer now, and use that summer to build your portfolio. If you're going to be searching for a job, use that time to be involved with professional development, show what you're learning, show what you're trying to apply to your future classes, all of those types of things. There are a lot of great opportunities out there, and all it takes is a simple search to find out some ways that you can continue to build and grow your presence. All right, so Ixchell, we've got a little bit of news stuff. We don't do tons of news updates and things like that. We're trying to keep that limited, but we happen to have some stuff at the end of the year right now. So let's start with the teacher appreciation giveaway.
Yeah, so we gave away a book bundle from Chimayo Press of the conversation books, and that was a nice bundle. It's valued at $140.
Yeah, so thank you to Chimayo Press and to Eric who runs all of that.
Right, that was very, very generous. And our winner is Neely Potts.
Yay.
We have contacted her, and you can follow her on Twitter at Neely_Potts. That's NEELY_POTTS. So Neely, congratulations.
Yeah, that was not mentioned on the show previously, but we were talking about it on Twitter and Instagram. So if we can do giveaways, if we can give some things out, that was for Teacher Appreciation Week, and we love, and by the way, if anybody wants to help us give stuff away, let us know.
All right, so we also have something new that we're starting this episode. We've been talking for a while about doing a slow chat. If you're not familiar with a slow chat, that is sort of like an ed chat, but you don't have to be there at a specific time. And we're going to be starting with this episode, and we're going to be using the hashtag DIESOL chat. We're going to be asking 5 questions after every episode, starting from Tuesday through Friday.
Through Saturday,
these are going to go
Tuesday, Thursday,
through Saturday.
Friday,
You're right.
Yeah.
Through Saturday. Through Saturday. And these are going to be going live 6 a.m. Pacific time, 9 a.m. Eastern time, 2 p.m. UK time, and 11 p.m. Sydney time. So again, if I know we've got listeners from all parts of the world, so slow chat is a great way for others in those regions to actually participate and share. So hopefully we'll be hearing from you guys.
Yeah, so this is new. Again, you don't have to be on time for it. It's just open during the week after each episode launches. And so log in when you have a chance on Twitter. Just search for hashtag DIESOL chat, DIESOL CHAT, and you should be able to find us. We're excited to see what's going to happen. This is our first try at it, and we'll just keep running with it. But yeah, a few questions related to the topic, and just your thoughts on it, and give you an opportunity to share out and maybe add some cool growth to what we're talking about here. Finally, we have a question for some of you, maybe a few of you, and we're wondering, we're looking for people who train pre-service teachers, either in something like an MA or a PhD program, or possibly even a certificate program too, right? because we have some ideas and some questions.
Right. Yeah. And we've heard that maybe people are using our show to enhance their courses in order to support upcoming teachers. So we'd love to help. So if you're out there and you're teaching in one of those programs, go ahead and contact us. And now it's time for our fun finds. Since we've been doing a lot of teleworking, and I've actually been doing a lot of workshops on Edtech, I recently downloaded the app Video Leap, and it's a video editing app. They do have a free version that you can use for almost all the basic things you might want to make, but the paid version, which is I think $60, like a one-time payment. I mean, it's pretty pricey, but it's got a lot of really cool editing functions. And if you really want to do a lot of stuff with your phone, and I've been editing only on my phone, I've had some really good videos that came out there. So that's Video Leap app, and you can get the free version.
Wow. Okay. So mine, Ixchell, do you watch Last Week Tonight, John Oliver?
No, I don't.
Okay, so a couple weeks ago, he did this episode, and he did this whole big thing about these things called Yella's Marble Runs. And he basically was like, it was this whole thing about like, hey, people can't watch sports, and so they're getting on this YouTube channel and they're watching these marble races.
Yes, I do know.
It is.
There was a viral one, right?
Cool.
There was one that went viral like at the beginning.
Yeah, well, I remember it from a few years ago, and I never really paid attention to it that much. But like, I went in, and I'm like, okay, well, I've got a little time, I'll watch this, and I was like, instantly, the first race, I was like, oh, this is so cool. So like, they have. It's like crazy. It's this whole elaborate marble racetracks, right? And then they run all of these different marbles against each other, just like Formula One racing, right? Except they're marbles going through it. And like so what I did is I chose a team. I actually chose two teams in case one's doing well and one's not doing well. So I chose my main team and I chose my backup team. And like I'm watching it and I'm like, oh, come on. It's like
you're rooting for your marble.
It's funny because like I am not like a sports fan. Like I don't really get excited about like those types of competitive things like this, and then I'm watching this and there's like no people involved at all. It's just physics. It's just pure physics, and I'm like so excited about how it works and like why like one's passing up and then like, oh yeah, it made the turn or whatever. So it's like surprisingly addictive. And so Yella's Marble Runs, it's super fun. I've got my team if you want to join my team. We're the O-Rangers. But my backup team is the Snowballs, and I really, really hate the Limers. They are the worst. So go take a look at it. Yeah, Yella's Marble Runs. So thank you so much for listening to the show. If you want to get one of a kind DIESOL pin, please show us what you got. Leave us a review.
Apple Podcasts or any other, if you're giving us a shout out any other way, tag us on social media or shoot us an email. Make sure you include a picture of where you left your review so that we know it's out there. You can also find more on this episode and others at diesel.org.
And you can find us on Twitter. You can find the show at DieselPod. You can also find me at Brent G. Warner.
You can find me, Ixchell, at Ixie_Pixie. That's IXY_PIXY.
And don't forget to log into the slow chat at Diesel Chat, hashtag Diesel Chat, starting the day after this episode. So that'll be the 2nd of June.
In Changana, a language of South Mozambique, thank you is Kanimambo. Kanimambo for tuning in to the DIESOL podcast.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good one. See ya.
See you soon.